now that we've gone over some of the basic functionalities and use cases of EQ, let's dive into two methods that we actually use the EQ for, which are additive and subtractive EQ. Just like the name suggests, additive is when you add frequencies, and subtractive is when you take them away. You may also hear the terms boosting and cutting thrown out there as well.
Now, there's a lot of misinformation when it comes to subtractive versus additive EQ. But in this video, we're going to dispel all of that misinformation and introduce some new terminology to help us think about these types of EQ moves and make better decisions when we're mixing. What we're going to do is we're going to associate a phrase with each type of EQ move. For cuts, we're going to use the phrase, "This sound has too much blank." And for boosts, we're going to use the phrase, "This sound needs more blank." So we're going to take a look at this session. We're going to go through it and apply some EQ, and we're going to use those phrases in order to determine whether it needs to be subtractive or additive.
You're tired and overdue for peace of mind. Unravel you and I tonight.
So I'm hearing in this lead vocal, there's a little bit too much mid-range, a little too much presence and honkiness in this vocal. And so using our terminology, this sound has too much presence. Let's apply subtractive EQ. We're going to load up infinity EQ here, and we're just going to make a cut somewhere in that present frequency. Again, we said this sound has too much presence. We're going to make a cut.
You're tired and overdue for peace of mind. Unravel you and I tonight. Just calm your thoughts on me a little while.
Yeah, that sounded great. Before that EQ move, this vocal was poking out a little bit too much. So now it's really sitting in the mix really well.
Yeah, it's a really smooth vocal sound now.
Absolutely.
Let's take another listen.
You're tired and overdue for peace of mind. Unravel you and I tonight. Just calm your thoughts.
A perfect example of using subtractive EQ to make this vocal fit better in the mix.
You will never be alone. You will never be alone. 'Cause the heart I gave no one.
So as we listen to this, we're hearing some buildup in the low frequencies. It's starting to sound a bit muddy. It's between this bass synth and the kick drum.
Yeah, so let's go back to our phrase. This sound, aka the bass synth, has too much low end. So let's just go ahead and take that out.
So if you're listening on subs or a big system, you can really hear the low end tighten up. We're hearing the thud of the kick punch through the track now. Let's listen to it in context.
You will never be alone. You will never be alone. 'Cause the heart I gave, no one can take away.
So now overall, the track doesn't sound muddy in the low end.
Absolutely, and using that terminology, we were easily able to identify where the problem was and fix it with subtractive EQ.
You will never be alone. You will never be alone. 'Cause the heart
So as we're listening back, I'm hearing this background vocal part, and it's getting a little bit buried in the mix. It's not sticking out, and it's a really cool part, so we want to hear it.
you will never be alone.
Since it's getting buried in the mix, let's refer back to our phrase. This background vocal needs more blank, and in this case, it needs more air.
So that means we're going to need to boost the high frequencies.
You will never be alone. You will never be alone.
So now this background vocal is really cutting through. We can actually hear it.
So a great way to use additive EQ to make this fit better in the mix. Let's keep listening.
You will never be alone. You will never be alone.
So one thing I'm hearing actually is that the kick in the chorus doesn't have enough attack.
Yeah, there's not enough of the beater sound of the kick. It's not cutting through the mix in the upper frequencies. So we can use our terminology. This kick needs more attack. So we're going to make a boost. Sounds good by itself there with the rest of the drums, but let's listen to it in context and make sure that this kick is cutting through enough.
You will never be alone. You will never be alone. 'Cause the heart I gave, no one can take away.
So it's a subtle difference, but it's adding a really nice attack to the kick drum. So try this out in your mixes when you're trying to decide whether to use subtractive or additive EQ.
This course is available in the Slate Digital All Access Pass, which gives you thousands of dollars worth of award-winning plugins, the industry's most game-changing synthesizer, Anna 2, and the very best Masterclass production courses taught by the industry's biggest pros, all for $14.99 per month.